Hi, everybody. My name is Carrie Freedman, and I am thrilled to be a guest on the show Talking with Kevin and Son. It's Kevin McLemore, and I'm talking about everything fashion. If you're interested in having a line or coming up with a collection or anything to do with fashion, you definitely want to hear what I have to say.
Welcome to another episode of Talking with Kevin and Son and the people you should know. Hi, my name is Kevin McLemore. I am your show host. I am a four-time published author, a speaker, and my friends recognize me as the mindset messenger. I don't know why, probably because I love to talk. This episode is brought to you by RMK Productions and the 10 United Podcast Network. Through the power of our story, our mission is to uplift our voices, inspire, share stories and experience and perspectives using the framework of teaching, learning, and modeling. Our purpose is very simple. It is hope, helping other people every single day. So, whatever your objective is, successful people, they create a framework around their day-to-day lives that not only enhances their lives, but like my guest today, many pour into the lives of others. This podcast will reveal the secrets of the world of fashion. My guest, her story is a game changer. When pulling back the layers of the world of fashion then and now, she is a native Philadelphian, a fashion consultant, a graduate from Philadelphia University. Her name can be associated with brands like Jones of New York, Liz Claiborne, DKNY, my friend Calvin Klein, Adidas, Ralph Lauren's, and I could spend the rest of the day reading her bio all day long. This show is all about facing hard challenges head on, adjusting to the changing events in life, in the manufacturing world, in the creative process of design, overcoming some personal challenges in this business, and many times taking more than the business will give. And through her story, if you stay around long enough, maybe our guest will share with you her secrets to how you can thrive in today's world of fashion and design. Our guest is fun. She's a relatable human being. She's a hidden gem, a living example of true grit. Let me welcome to the show. Let us welcome to the show, Miss Carrie Freeman. How you doing, Carrie?
Really good. Thank you, Kevin. That's awesome. What a great introduction.
Well, thank you, thank you. Well, you know something, if I had read your bio the way it was written, I'd probably be doing two shows before I got to you. Okay, very impressive. Going through uh, COVID, I had said that the world is changing. The way we do business has to be personal. It used to be a point when you could put a big name celebrity and attach them to their brand, and people will line up in droves. The days of standing in line, waiting for the next big Apple product or waiting to go to the New York Fashion Week. I just came back from Atlanta's Fashion Week. I think those days are numbered. I think there's been a shift in how we view fashion and the new crop of fashion designers and models and so forth. It's a lot different from the world that we knew from the beginning. So will you do me a small favor, Carrie, if you
Sure.
don't mind? Okay. You are the queen of queens when it comes to manufacturing designs and creative process of this whole world. I know this is a family business and you learned. Can you give our listeners a little bit of how you came into the business, what attracted you, how you got
Sure.
attached to it, and what
Yep.
impact you had on the business?
So to answer that, I was really born into this industry. My mother and father, my dad, I mentioned Stan Friedman, my mother, Elaine. My dad supplied all the double knit for Jones, New York. Back then it was um, J.G. Huck with Max Rab. I mean, these people aren't around anymore. But so we had a double knit factory in Philadelphia, and my mother designed fabrics, patterns for my dad's company. So that's how I got into it. Both my parents also, when it was called Philadelphia College of Textiles and Sciences. So I was born into this industry. and exposed to it very, very early. My dad had offices in New York on Broadway, 1407, which is a famous building for schmata industry. And and from there, and then we were just exposed to all of this, to Liz Claiborne, I mean, she was at my bar mitzvah, which is like, it's crazy when I think about it. Um, but it was, but it was interesting because I saw back then, growing up around this, that the industry back then, as you said, is quite different right now. And that is, we have an internet. Back then it isn't. And business was done. I watched my dad do business on a handshake. And obviously that doesn't happen anymore.
Not
And
at all.
the whole industry's changed. The minute, the internet came up, people didn't have to go shopping anymore. So, retail really, really suffered. People aren't going to the malls anymore. If they are, they're going to a specific store, either to pick up what they ordered online. You don't really have walk by traffic anymore unless your store has a fan base or a following for a number of years. It's very, very difficult. So how it's changed, it's even for designers, from what I'm seeing for designers, there's so many. The good news about this is the creative space for designers has grown. That's the plus side of having the internet and having these like Canva, different designs, programs that designers can utilize, to be more exact on their patterns. It's digitized cutting. I mean, all sorts of things. Years ago, to make striped fabric was really, it was tough. Now it's nothing, so it's changed a lot since then. And I actually think for the better. I just think it's a matter of, people like me or my age adapting to what the new norm is for the fashion industry. I mean, there's a group I'm a part of out in New York, Fashion Group International, and I follow their trends. I mean, streetwear was huge for a long time, especially in Miami and Los Angeles. So, and there it still exists, but it's kind of, people are taking bits and pieces and, and using that, and also recycle. So, people want to buy sustainable fashion, sustainable fabrics, you know. So it's I just think the markets there's a broader span of the market, and you just have to find your niche.
Now, let me ask you this. Very popular movie, um, Devil Wears Prada.
Yes.
It painted a picture of the mentality of the people that were at the head of the games. We talk about Liz
Yeah.
Claiborne, we talk about Ralph Lauren, we talk about
Who's a great guy, by
Austin.
the way.
Ralph Lauren?
Yeah, yeah, that movie is very true. And it's based, I don't want to mention her name, it's based on on the head of Vogue. So it's true. Um, it doesn't exist like that anymore. It's not the same.
All right, that was going to be my next question because I know from my relationship with and I think I told you before, I met Calvin Klein in David Barton's gym in
Ah,
Manhattan.
right.
And the way I introduced myself when he told me his name was Calvin, I said, "Well, your parents misspelled your name. It should be Kevin." And I always told him, I said, one day, I said, "You're going to grow up, and you're going to be something special, and the whole world's going to know your name." And I said, "But you got to change your name to Kevin. It's got
That's
to be
awesome.
Kevin." And Calvin Klein and I became friends. We never talked about what he did, who he did. When I wrote my first book, he got the very first copy of my book, Letters to Elvis. Very nice man, very humble man,
Yep,
uh, very creative. And I also knew the Fende sisters. So New York's a small world when you meet people and they welcome you in. So you said
absolutely.
um, the devil that wears Prada. You said that was a depiction.
It's based on a true story.
All right. So how do you think the fashion industry fast forward today? Because there's a lot of young people that fantasize about being part of that world. And a lot of people have watched that movie and have been turned off because of what they saw in the world and says, I could never do that to a person. How's that shift
Okay.
affected fashion today?
Well, I think it definitely had to shift. I mean, well, that was based on a publication. It was based on Anna Wintour for Vogue magazine, and it's true. It's absolutely true. And you know, she's older. One of my idols was Iris FL. I mean, I've met her. She is unbelievable. Was unbelievable. What inspires me are people that maintained their approachability or that kept their feet on the ground and treated people correctly. I felt that way about Sidney Kimmel, who started Jones New York, and he started it with a woman. She's on Renner Rowan, and they were Philadelphians. And for my senior project, I was the only one that was allowed into Jones distribution with a camera. I had a camera guy with me and film everything about Jones. So, he even offered me, a job after I graduated college. But my dad's like, you're going to come back to Miami. So, yeah, I mean, I actually looked at him. I don't know if I ever told him that he was because he handled people with dignity. And there's a lot of people in this industry that aren't, that are horrible, and I'm sure that's true for any industry, but especially fashion. Fashion is seasonal. So it's kind of like it's a roller coaster. So one season you're doing great, the next season didn't sell so great. Let's say at Saks, okay, before Hudson Bottom. So you're out. So you're constantly up and down. So I think that there's an addiction, like an adrenaline rush. So when you're on top of the world and your sales are doing great and buyers are just coming at, buying your stuff, yeah, it is. It's a very, very stressful business. It really
All
is. And
right.
I think that what's made it a little more palatable is the designers that I speak to. I like the fact that they want to be educated. And whether they went to FIT or whether they went to Parsons or RISD, um, it's that they take the initiative to learn every single aspect um, of what needs to be done. I liked it when, it helps if they know how to drape. Not many do that anymore. Um, but I think that the knowledge, and there's so much out there on the internet and so many videos that, wasn't around when I went to college or growing up. So I think there is actually enough room for designers. And also, I think it's scalable as well. I mean, to start a brand, it's very expensive. You have to have your patterns, you have to have tech sketches, and now they have tech packs and all of this. So, but there's ways to scale it. And one of the things that I speak to my clients about is I don't believe in holding inventory. Years ago, people would make up, you know, how many thousands of garments to have to ship and hold it. But if it didn't sell, you're stuck. And
Right.
you've put it all out there, to show, or maybe you did a fashion show when you show these different looks or whatever. Now you have to start marking it down before you even sold it. So I suggest that they don't hold inventory and start small and
Okay.
and get a budget that's realistic.
All right. Let's talk about being real. You and I spoke off camera
Hmm.
in a personal conversation, and I said by 2035, and it's probably going to happen sooner, that strip malls, like the Mall of America, is like King of Prussia here
Right.
in Philadelphia, are going to ultimately be high-rise apartments, buildings with storefronts, shopping on lower levels. So the days of walking into a
Correct.
branded store or a small store is going to go away. When we ask why, it could be the internet. It could be how do you break into the business? And I know that I know young designers, and I have a niece that used to work for Ralph Lauren,
Hmm.
and she is now doing her own design in Ohio, in Dayton, Ohio. It's that the hard part is getting your name out there,
Right.
securing finances, like you said, creating a business model where you're not carrying excess inventory so you don't have to mark down.
Right.
What are the keys or the steps when you're advising someone? Because now you're
Okay.
consulting.
Right.
Where does when you see a talented designer and they do not have all the pieces in place, how do you find the missing pieces to their puzzle in order for them to be successful? Where do they start?
Yeah. So what I do with a new client, and what I do is I work with up and coming designers. So I'm not dealing with branded, the very successful like the Ralph Lauren's. They don't need me. But for the other ones, yeah. So what I start is I said I need to see there's two things. They have an idea and they want to like they like this from Fendi, they like this, and they come up with fashion styles that they like. So I'm not thrilled about people that, copy other designers. I think there has to be originality. So what I do is I take what they give me. So let's say they just have ideas. And so they give me a bunch of pictures. So I then put together a collection. Let's say it's dresses. All right. I would not have more than 10 pieces for a first line. And that would be a combination, so whether it's tops, bottoms, dresses, or jackets. And it could be that way for men's. Men's is a little bit different. I
Yeah, we're
really don't do that
simple.
much in kids wear. Mostly it's men's and women's.
Yeah. And since you brought up kids wear, ask me this, why are children's clothes so expensive? There's less material, they're smaller. Is it because you have to have tiny hands to stitch it? It costs you more?
No, no. It's because the markups for them is for you're not making a lot of money. You're absolutely right because it's less fabric, right? So the other thing is with kids market is the mindset used to be that a parent will buy for their kids first before they buy for themselves. And kids are growing. So after they finish with that, they're going to come back and buy again from you. And it
Mhm.
depends on the brand, like Carter's or some of these other brands that for kids. Like I am a big fan. I have grandchildren. I like Gap Kids. I think they do a great job. Their garment
Mhm.
dyeing is great. Would I go to Bergdorf Goodman, okay, and buy my granddaughter, no. I mean, for a special occasion, a dress there, I get it. I mean, it sells here, there's stores in Miami that are boutiques, children's boutiques that are all high end. And, they've managed to make it. Some didn't, but some do. There's special occasions, there's weddings that maybe, their child's in or whatever. So, there is a market for that.
All right. Question. Do you need a star to be attached to and wear your clothing in order for you to be successful in today's market?
No. So here's my feeling on that. Okay. Is that because I work with a PR company as well. And to get this, it's not that easy. They don't do it for free. And these celebrities that do this, it's thousands and thousands, thousands of dollars, unless an influencer. See, I would rather work with an influencer that has, and I have a lot of followers and have it seen that way. It's very, unless you know the celebrity yourself, it's very, very difficult to do. I mean, Brooke Shields with Calvin Klein from years ago when she did the denim, all the denim for him. So I think it depends. I don't think you have to do that to be successful. Do I think now that you have to be all over social media? Yes. Mhm. And the other thing that I like to do is I refer that they should align themselves with a charity. Like I'm aligned with not just cancer, but also a percentage of what I do goes to the MS Foundation as well. I am producing a fashion show in November for that organization. And I hired one of the designers that I work with. She created a line of adaptable clothing specifically for this event. So I'm hosting that. And, I did it last year for a cancer organization here. I did a fashion show at a pretty well-known Miami Beach restaurant. And it was great. So I just think that people are into social causes now. And if you give them a reason that you feel like, the world is crazy right now, and if you show, like, look, I'm giving back. I want to, it's not just take, 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 and I'm going to give a percentage or whatever you decide to give back to help. I think that that's even better than having a celebrity like, Kim Kardashian or whatever, wearing your stuff. I mean, it doesn't hurt, obviously.
Right. Right. Um, as you know, I did Atlanta's Fashion Week,
Hmm.
and I was one of the celebrity models for Fubu.
Uh-huh.
Um, I will tell you, I had a blast. It's something I've never done. I've modeled for magazines and stuff when I was younger and better looking and had a 10% body fat. But now that I am, a full-grown adult human being, I'm proud of my athletic dad bod. Um, and I will say this. I don't know if you've ever done that. That runway is hard. That's a
I
long
have
walk.
never, I've walked, walked in the runway when it was a client's show because I'm
Mhm.
behind the scenes. I've never walked as a model for something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I am going to say my hats off to those models. And the reason why I'm asking this question, because when I sat back and I looked out and saw and listened to some of the conversation of the models themselves wanting to attach themselves to a brand like Fubu and some other designers that were there. Are
Right.
the days of becoming a star as a model representing someone's clothing line, are those days over with, or
No,
is it
no, not
it's
at
not?
all. I don't believe so at all. No. And I think that these designers are looking for a model that that totally represents their brand. And then they put them in every ad they do. No, definitely not. Uh-uh. I think it's really important for brand awareness.
Yeah, because I would do FUBU all over again. They treated me well. I love
Yeah.
the clothing, and it's so Fashion Week, New York. Everyone has a Fashion Week. How does a up and coming talent that's attached to you, how do you get into Fashion Week?
Money. Let me be honest with
How
you.
how
It
much money?
depends on what it depends. There's a lot of satellite shows. So what I suggest is you don't necessarily, to pay, 10, $15,000 for a new brand to be at Fashion Week. There's other opportunities that you want the media. That's the whole point of this thing is you want media attention. You want to get it out on the internet. You want somebody, maybe they're filming doing TikTok live and, they're mentioning your brand. I think for a beginning designer, that's where it makes sense because it's New York Fashion Week is very, very expensive, especially into some of these big shows.
Yeah, I am actually going to be in New York's Fashion Week with FUBU when it comes around. And I was always curious on how expensive it was and how I saw some startups that I've never heard of their product before, and they were there. I was wondering how they were able to afford that.
Yeah,
And I know with mine and my brand building, my photographers, every time I use a photographer, every time I use an editor and I release a book, I showcase them as part of my business arrangement with them to
right.
help them build their brand. Um, can you use podcasts and other sources of media in order to launch your product or associate it? Is that a
Absolutely. Absolutely.
good
So
avenue?
I work with fashion photographers. I have one, Wellington Guzman, who I think is amazing. Um, and I do the same thing. And also the makeup artists. I do the same thing. I give credit, absolutely, for credit, for people like this to help them. I'm a firm believer in that. I help. I mean, I do a lot. I take calls from, people. Carrie, can you give me some advice on, yeah, I want this industry to flourish. I mean, I've tried to walk away from it a few times over the years, and it ropes me right back in. I love it. I really
Yeah,
do.
it
To
is.
me, it's some of it's so artistic and it's creative. It's so funny because I go into a textile factory. My friends joke that are not in this industry. When I go to Tex World and all these fabric shows in LA and also in New York, um, and I'm in heaven. And they're like, you serious? You walk into a factory? I said, there's nothing better than hearing all the machines running, which means there's business if they're sewing.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Well, me personally, I love dreamers, and that's the reason why I love being around
yep,
actors and writers and authors. And I know I'm going to poke you on here, so it remains for the rest of existence as long as YouTube is social media. Carrie, you
yep.
should write your book,
I
and
know
I'm
that.
hoping you
I've been told it's called fashion. I have a title. It's called Fashion Pursuit. Um, I've started it. I know that. Everybody that I'm in touch with in this industry says write the book.
All right.
Yeah,
And and I would say be honest. I'm going to ask you a personal question.
sure,
Not everything that glitters is gold. Um,
correct.
my story, there is a dark side to my story before I saw the light. So every shadow is looking for light. Worst experience that you've had or biggest disappointment in this
Oh, I got
industry?
one. All right. So it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. It's one of them. It's the most recent one, I would say. And I was working with a one of these up and coming designers, and people were getting nervous. I was coming back from Los Angeles. We were coming, my client and I were coming back from LA. From I landed in Miami. The next day I was off. I had to go to New York. So it breaks out. Then it's not getting paid. And I am really good-hearted. Okay, you can only afford to pay me whatever. I'll wait to this. Well, this took a big toll for me. They owed me a lot of money, and they hit me with all their FedEx charges. It was just horrible. It really was. So that's the most recent one. I'm really careful. I learned from that one. And I mean, it's happened in the past as well. I mean, sometimes um, they get in and these designers are in over their head and they leave all their stuff and they just walk away. I had a client walk away from $100,000 that they put in samples in inventory over a year and a half. I just walked away from it. So, you know, things like that. I mean, other than that, I mean, the fashion industry in Miami is really fickle. I don't believe it really exists. It's on a very small scale. I don't manufacture anything here anymore. Everything I do is in New York or Los Angeles, because they don't meet delivery dates here and they can't get sewers. It's another big issue. So if you have a factory here, you better own it and be able to watch it. It's very, very difficult. I mean, there's designers that do small lots here, but not really,
What
not
what about
anymore.
what about collaborating with established designers? Is the industry open to helping someone else? I know my grandfather always said when you get to a point that you can help someone else, your duty to do so, reach one, teach one.
Do you know something?
Um,
I have to tell you something that used to go years ago. In fact, it was Sidney Kimmel. He started Norma Kamali. I mean, he actually put her on the map. So that is another reason that I watched him far afar, watching him be a real mentor and to really like in Yiddish, it's a mensch, this guy really, he really is. And that was a brand that he built for her for many, many years. So it used to be. Um, I don't know how much of it anymore. A lot of these large companies, these are bought, they're owned by, large conglomerates. So it just depends. I think they should. I actually think they should.
I believe once you get to a point, everyone should help
I agree
someone
with
else
you.
because we have a
Yep,
tendency to forget how we got started, and I think
absolutely correct.
collaboration is king. So no one has ever done whatever we do today by themselves. And I'm going to ask you to share your experience. Who
Okay,
lights you up? Who set you on fire? Who inspired you?
okay. So actually British fashion. So there used to be a designer, I think she just passed away, Mary McFadden, and her wet look at her mini dresses and mini skirts, and Emilio Pucci. So things like that, his prints, totally, absolutely loved it. And Gianni Versace. He's another one I like even more because I've met him before he died. I got to
Mhm.
tour of his house with Donatella in South Beach. I didn't sleep that night. I remember calling my mother at 1 in the morning and said, "You're not going to believe where I've been tonight." And we all went to Joe Stone Crabs. And after that, this is right after Gianni was killed. And we go in her car and we went through the house. And it was amazing. He especially, I'm not thrilled with where the company is now. and whoever's designing for them now. I don't think Donatella is anymore. But back in the heyday, definitely him and Karl Lagerfeld.
Yeah, yeah, I like Carl Lagerfeld.
So do
You
I.
know, it amazes me. I when I share stories, and especially like I was talking about you earlier today, I heard someone says, "Oh, Kevin's always name dropping and whatever," and I'm going, "It's not my fault that I have friends that are doing things in life,
That's a
friends
great
that have
answer.
friends that have stories to
Right,
tell."
right,
I
right.
mean, these are my friends. I
Yeah, what
mean,
are you going to do? Exactly.
yeah,
Some people
you
say to me, "Oh, you're always dropping names." Like, can I tell you
It-
this
it-
is the truth?
that's the way.
Right.
Remember the phone book? That's the way that you have people. And
That's exactly
unfortunately,
right.
and fortunate for us that we surround ourselves with people that are like-minded. I know in my space, I draw inspiration from the circle of friends that I have. I know when my days are down, you and many other people, you pick me up and vice versa. And I know sometimes when you're standing in the shadow, when I talk to you on the phone or we get a text, that's that light that brings me out of the shadow. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to look and listen to this interview and says, maybe Carrie can help me or at least give me some advice. So I'm going to ask you, if it's okay,
Yeah.
how do people get in touch with you?
They could get in touch with me through my website. It's Carrie, Carrie, at Carrie, Carrie, Friedman, Freedman.com.
All right. Are you available? I already know the answer, but I hope you say yes for coaching and consulting in the
Yeah,
event that
absolutely.
do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, of
All
course.
right. Now you guys heard her. She committed that she is open
I
to
I
talk to you.
committed. I do it. Yep.
Now,
I
now
absolutely will.
let me say this to anyone that has now got pen and paper and are writing down this information. So I'm going to reach out to Carrie. If you're not all in and you're just looking for someone to give you a hand and hold you around for the rest of your life, put the pen down. But if you're that one creative person that has lived their whole life and had dreamt of having your fashion, your clothes worn by some of the most impressive human beings down a catwalk, which is a long catwalk, um, and this is your dream, and this is the only thing you ever wanted to do is be a fashion designer and have your clothes seen all over the world. All right, both by young people, old people like myself, then you pick up the phone and you reach out to Carrie. What I'm saying to you guys is don't waste her time. She's a very busy person, and she was kind enough to say, go ahead. All right, reach out to her. Surround yourself by like-minded people. Carrie, any designers right now that you see that's on the horizon that you think are up and coming? And I'm two parts. Is there a designer up and coming right now that you would like to work with?
Hmm. Um, all right, so let me think who is up and coming. That I'd have to think about because what I look at locally in Miami, like I'll mention a friend of mine. It's Julian Chang. I love his clothes. Okay, I think he's great. Rene Ruiz, okay, does beautiful dresses. Um, and there's another company. So there's a friend of mine now that I think about it. It's called Miami Beach to Go. Her clothes, she's on Instagram. But if somebody writes to me, I'll get you all the information. But her clothes are really versatile for traffic, and meaning that if you're if you're traveling, if you're they don't wrinkle and they're fabulous. The cut is incredible. There's dresses, there's pants. Um, I see that as really. She has some great clients. Her name is Janique, and she's from Paris. But these are the people. Yeah, these. There's a lot of like unknowns that are showing up uh, in these different markets. And so I kind of do. I'm doing a lot of consulting. At this for like this other company, Mom Bomb, that I'm doing. So I'm handling their social media, getting them out there. Um, so I'm actually taking on a little bit more because I want to give back. I feel that at some point, which to your point is you reach a point and you want to help somebody or you want to
Right.
give back. And since COVID, I went on my own personal journey to find out what was important. And it was, kind of a spiritual journey for me. And I met the most amazing people. And I like the fact that we're a community, that we all want to help each other. And some of these people that are part of this are, I can't name them, but are very well known, people in the fashion space. Fubu being one of them, one of the owners of Fubu, who
Right.
lives in Miami. So yeah,
Well, will you do me a small favor since you know the guys in Fubu because I didn't get a chance to talk to
it's
the
my
principal.
partner that she does. They're
Okay.
very friends. They're best friends.
So you tell me this is going to work because I know Fubu and Fubu
Mhm,
stands for us by us.
mhm,
Um, there's 107 historically black colleges.
mhm.
And when I looked at the fact that most people can't get into the Chicago Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, Atlanta Fashion Week, Miami Fashion Week, it's for the very elite. And I said, if you want to build your brand, um, get where the product starts from. All of our trends and whatever start from 18 to 25.
Right.
That's the target marketplace. And then people like you and I, we think it looks good and we'll go from there. Um, I thought about having a travel show, a full-blown production, a fashion tour to tour and put on a fashion weekend of every HBCU across the country for 1 year. That means bring the music, bring the swag, bring the fashion, bring new designers, bring the storytelling, and talk about and have a one-to-one in a room, a round
I
table.
think it's a great
Uh,
idea.
I think so too. That's the reason I'm
I really do.
recording
I
it,
think it's a
putting it up
great
there.
idea. My thing about doing fashion shows, I stopped doing them just to do a fashion show, just to do a fashion show is thrown out money. To do a
Right.
fashion show where you have media there, the press there, where it's going to expand from there, your name will get out, then I get it. So what I do now is more of a fashion launch, but I like your idea is great because it brings the show to where they normally wouldn't get the chance to go to a fashion week because you're right, it's very expensive. And the hotels alone in New York, during that week, it's crazy. So I agree with you. I think it'd be really great. Yeah,
You know, if you would be open to partner with me, I think I have enough personal connections, at least with creating sponsorships, airlines, getting money together, and talk to a couple of cable companies that to be part of this. And if you
I
can
think it's
get,
fabulous, actually.
I
I think
I
it's a
think if
great idea.
I think if we can use Fubo as a headliner and get some of
Yep,
these new designers to come through and have this as a tour package, I think we can pull this off.
no doubt. And you know something? I would go to the point where, let's say, there's something like one, or like, let's say you go to DC, right? Howard University. I don't know. I'm just pulling one out. And let's say there's somebody there, they're interested in fashion, okay? Or kind of like we would feature what one or two of the designers from that school that could, show the brand and
Yeah.
not just, but I mean, but show it. What they would get from that is unbelievable exposure.
I think the return on investment from hotels, sponsors, travel, and so forth, um, I think it's priceless.
I agree
I
with you.
think it's
I do.
priceless.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's a
Yeah.
great, great idea.
And I think every Visa, MasterCard, American Express should be part of that and pay for this. It's all first
Oh,
class, all first
absolutely.
class.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yep.
you know,
I agree with that.
I'm hoping we can trademark this conversation because I think we can make this
Yeah.
happen.
No, I'm
Okay.
telling you, I'm excited. This is a great idea. And it hasn't
Hey,
been done. I like that.
it has not
Like,
been
be
done.
careful. So I don't know who's listening that's going to say, hey, I'm going to grab it. It's a great idea. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. So, what would be your message to a dreamer wanting to be in this world? If you were to tell them your secrets, um, and what would be your advice and takeaway from this
Okay.
interview? What would you
Number
say
one,
to someone?
perseverance. Don't give up. You're going to get 100, you can get 100 no's. Okay. But it'll be that one yes. that takes off. And just don't give up. That's my thing. Don't give up. Even I know it gets really frustrating because fashion's critiqued, and a lot of designers take it personally. And if you believe in your product, believe in your style, okay, sometimes it has to be altered a little bit because sometimes it doesn't make sense for production purposes, which where I come in. So I said, okay, let's cut out a certain seam there. This is going to be expensive for production. It's okay for a show. It's okay as samples. But when it goes to production, you have to make, sometimes you have to make certain, you know, like if you go to one of the big fashion shows in New York Fashion Week, and you see, when Chanel would go down, or even Paris Fashion Week. So these designs, a lot of them, there's only maybe three made. They're not, Bergdorf's isn't buying those. So, I would say be open-minded and stay true to your style.
All right. And if I can add on to that, I would also say silence the noise. Don't listen to the naysayers.
Absolutely. It's exactly
Yeah.
correct. Yep. Yep. Any of these
Uh-huh.
designers, even Ralph Lauren has a story. Okay, so Calvin Klein also. Tommy Hilfiger got very lucky.
Right.
He was started with Gloria Vanderbilt. So, but everybody doesn't have that option.
Right.
So you got to really, and a lot of it, believe it or not, is who you know.
Yep, it is exactly who you know. And
Yeah.
I want to put this out there. I have a good friend, Stephen Sashin. He is the designer and creator of a shoe company called Zero Shoes. And the
Mhm.
reason why I'm putting that out there because I work a 12-hour day, I'm on my feet. I do more than 15,000 steps. I walk an average of 15
Oh, I
miles a
feel so
day.
guilty now.
Yeah.
I have to start
Well,
moving.
I'm also one of the top fitness influencers here on the East Coast. So I'm training people all day long. But, I thought it was because of my age, my knees, my back, and my ankles. My feet were tired at the end of the day and I was in pain. And I thought I was just growing old until I spoke to Steven and he says, why don't you try Zero Shoes? Now I understood the science of going barefoot, but I had not ever applied it. 7 days after wearing his shoes, and I ordered six pair of his shoes because wanted to support a friend. I didn't want him to give me anything because that's not the way I
Right,
work.
right.
And 7 days afterwards, at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, my knees, my back, and my ankles stopped hurting, and my feet weren't tired. And I said it had to be the shoes. So
Wow.
I make it a point that I tell people. If you have any of the issues, I'm not saying that I'm a doctor or whatever the case may be, but I'm saying going barefoot is the key. So go to www.zeroshoes and zero spelled Xero. Um, last question, and which is not
Mhm.
actually my last question. If you had a chance to do one thing over again, and not make the same mistake twice, what would you do over?
Let me think about that. That's a tough one. At times I would have said that I would have maybe become a lawyer or whatever, but not anymore. And maybe I would have, at one point at different points in my career, I had my own brand many years ago, and I I I gave up on it. So if I had a guess, I should have stick. So it was a garment dye line, and I should have kept it and kept going with it.
All
So
right.
it was a men's line, a print oriented men's line, and it was fabulous. These shirts were great. Um, but it was back in 90, it was called Profile America. And it was back in 91, the hurricane, when Hurricane Andrew came, all our inventory got blown away. And I figured, you know what? I'm not gonna, I was still married. I said to my ex-husband, we're not gonna keep doing this. So that's my one regret. I should have kept up with that. We shouldn't have stopped.
All
I
right.
should have followed my own advice that I give to designers.
Well, that's okay. And what's the next step for you?
So the next step is I'm working with, I love this company. It's a company based out of Boston, and her name is Heather Roberts. She came up with these for women, these bath bombs. 100% of the profit goes to families in need. That to me is extraordinary. I've met her. And so, and now we're friends. Um, and so she says, Carrie, can you help us, get our the word out? So if anybody's interested, it's mombomb.org is the website. And you see their products. It's
Yeah, tell her
fabulous.
to tell her to come on the podcast and let's see if we can give
Yeah,
some
I'll
of her
tell her.
products away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm going to be speaking to her later. Oh, actually, we have
yeah,
a Zoom call on Wednesday.
yeah, and tell her we can do the whole podcast from, her sitting in the bathtub with the mom bomb and whatever.
Oh,
We'll
it'd be
do it from
great.
there.
I think it'd be
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah,
yeah. Just don't drop the computer inside the water because that.
exactly. There
Carrie,
you go.
I want to thank you for allowing us to have an extended conversation of our personal conversation and sharing your experiences, and also being a futurist of the fashion industry. I think that you gave hope to some inspiring and inspiring some young people. At least I hope that conversation is translated that way. I wish you nothing but success. Our
Thank you.
friendship is thriving. I think we should do this tour.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm excited. I think this is going to be, it hasn't been done, Kevin. It's
I
nobody's
know,
ever done this. It's a great idea.
I know,
And we could get
and
some like really great music to come in and bands. It would be great.
yeah, um,
Wow.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, me too. That
Let's put
happened
this
when we
together.
spoke last
Uh,
week.
I I
What?
will tell you is that I have a friend over at Comcast. I'm going to share this video with her, and I know Verizon is one of those people, but I also know that there's a couple airlines that would very much like to be part of this,
That would be great.
and go from there. And let's see what happens. If we can get, I would say, my magic number is five designers and featuring Fubu.
Oh,
Um,
easily,
to do that,
easily,
if we can hit every
easily.
campus, big or small, and have
Right.
it called a tour fashion weekend, and bring
Oh
two
my
two up
God.
and coming groups.
It would be unbelievable. Could you imagine? Uh-huh. And then you take it to other countries. They go into the Caribbean, like Jamaica, where people can't,
Yeah,
and take it down there. It's great.
and just think if we discover the next big
That's
designer
right.
from one of
Exactly.
these tours.
Exactly. I love it. What a great success story that would be for someone. I
That would
love
be
this idea. I really do.
all right.
Well,
Uh,
thank you for having me on your
well,
podcast.
I'm not ending it yet. All right,
Oh, okay.
that was only the setup. I
Oh,
do have
okay.
to say this. I have a list of 100 people and their secrets to success, not success in business, but success in life itself. And I think that's important. I've got a lot of friends that are very successful in business, but I also have a lot of friends that are very successful when it comes to their bank account, but
Mhm.
not successful in life. And the reason why I'm adding you to this is because you've been successful both in life, good times and bad times,
Yes.
and you've been pouring into others. And that's what my show is about, people that you should know. Um, so I would like to ask you if you would honor me with your permission to allow me to list you as one of my top 100 people.
That would be amazing.
This,
Yes,
all
that'd be
right.
great.
So
I'd be
that's what we're
honored.
going to
Yeah.
do. That those numbers are getting short, and I want to thank Corey for introducing, not Corey, Stacy for
Oh,
introducing
right.
us. Yes,
Right.
Stacy
Yeah.
Lawrence, which is another person. She's been inducted also. Question: 99.9% of the people that's been on my show. Again, when I started my business, everyone told me how to run my podcast and how to get likes, comments, and whatever. And I went against the norm. When people asked me who was my audience, and I said everyone, and they said that you had no one. Well, with over 10,000 people that listen to my show and almost 7,000 people that subscribe, I'm the first person to say if you're not a person that's of high call to action, I ask you to kindly not subscribe, make room for someone that is, because I surround myself with people that want to get stuff done. But I do appreciate you like, share, and comment on the show because my guests are valuable people and they have a story that needs to be shared and told. So I would very much like your feedback. My grandfather, he was not the type of person that drove by an accident. He stopped to help. And that's the reason why I'm going to ask you this question, because to
Mhm.
this date, I've had six people that have been guests on my show that have answered this question, and six strangers have granted them their life's wish. So if I were to ask you, if you had one ask, ASK, one thing that could come true, one thing that you wanted or desired, it could be personal, professional, or just something you want to change in the world. What would your ask be?
My ask would be that I would be financially able to give young designers or young people the opportunity to be educated in the fashion industry because these colleges are it's expensive. And I would want to be where I could give that money so that they have scholarships so they could go on in the fashion industry. Because I'm
All right.
65. I mean, Calvin's older than me.
Yeah.
Um, it's I wanted to see I want the fashion industry to continue in a positive light.
All right. And
And that would be my ask.
I think it's doable. And I'm going to help you and give you some advice. Write your
Great.
book, creating a online um, coaching and mentoring program to where people that can afford just a little can get a lot out of this, and you mentor them
Right.
through the service online. You can reach a lot more people on the internet than you can
Absolutely.
enrolling people into an institution that has
Correct.
um, a finite structure instead of infinite structure that basically screens out talented people based on their ability to pay, not to create. Hopefully, I said that
Yeah.
right.
No, no, it's no. What you mean is not their ability to pay, but to create. So that
Yes.
therefore, if they don't have the money, there would be money to for them to do this. So it's not based on their ability to pay. It's based on their creativity.
All right. I think you should write your book and create that course online.
I know.
Great.
You know what?
All right.
It
This
inspired
is
me.
this is my nudge. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, to grow, you must make some mistakes. To have confidence, you must address your anxieties. To forgive yourself, you must hold yourself accountable. To learn, you must unlearn some stuff. To exist, you must show up today as more. Understand the power of your words. And these are notes from me, your mindset messenger. We have covered a lot of information today, and we've made some very valid points, and we've hopefully entertained you and enlightened you. And in some ways, maybe we have touched you in a place that will change you. If you have not followed us, I would say go to our YouTube page at RMK Productions and Network on YouTube and follow, subscribe. You know how I feel about subscribing. If you want to be a guest or have someone that you think will make a great guest and someone we should know, go to RMK Productions. Let me back this up. Go to www.rmkproductions.org and fill in the information to be a guest on our show, and we'll be more than happy within 48 hours to contact you. Um, I appreciate you, Carrie. Ladies and gentlemen, Carrie Freeman, consultant, designer, fashion guru, you name it. She is the queen of queens, downright good person and personal friend. Reach out to her. And I want to just thank all of our listeners for tuning in, and I hope you share and this turns into gold for you, this interview. Thank you, Carrie,
Thank you so much for having
a
me.
thousand
It was really
times.
great.
All right. And to my listeners, my grandfather said, and I'm repeating myself for the third time in this show, when you get to a place in life that you can help someone else out, it is your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one. And with that said, we'll fade the black and we're out. Thank you.
Thank you.